Jai Hind viewers. Today we have a very interesting guest. We don't have a man in uniform or a diplomat or a journalist. The guest that we have today has been an academician and a brilliant mind on timeless Chanakyan wisdom. So he does not need a long introduction, but I will just give a brief introduction about Dr. Pillai. So he has done his MA in Sanskrit, PhD in arthshastra from Mumbai University. He is a consultant, he is a guide, he is a mentor, he is a professor. He has served as a professor at different IIMs and of Oxford as well. And he is currently the director of Chanakya International Institute of Leadership Studies and runs Chanakya Anvikshiki Private Limited. He has authored around 9 books, and majority of them have been bestsellers. Uh, with I have personally read the latest one, Chanakya's 100 Best Sutras for Leadership. It's a wonderfully compiled book, sir. Welcome to Global Eye Talks. Your first views, sir.
First of all, thanks a lot to Global Eye Intelligence for inviting me on this particular platform. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
So with that, what I'm going to do is that I want to introduce you to certain concepts of international concepts of Chanakya, which is written in the arthshastra. But let me begin by telling that I will not be able to justify the concepts of Chanakya in such a short time. The reason being that it's very deep. It has actually got a lot of dimensions, but as they say, let's start somewhere. So in the next half an hour, what we are going to do is that introduce you a certain concepts which is very popular in international relation and foreign policies connected to China. So what I'll do is that I'll introduce a basic concepts to build on what is called as the Rajmandala theory. So it's a very popular theory, but many people don't understand it. And many people, in fact, most people, I would say, misunderstand it by saying Dushman ka Dushman dost. Enemy is a friend. Samadana, Danda, Bheda. Of course, a lot of concepts are there. Yet, I always say Rajamandala theory is actually a PhD level subject, but you can't do a PhD without knowing the basics. So in the basics, you at least should be a graduate or a postgraduate. That's the basic qualification for doing a PhD. So Rajamandala theory is like a PhD concept. So what I'm going to do is that I will touch upon Rajamandala theory, no doubt about it. Yet,
Sure.
what I'm going to do is that introduce you to the basic philosophy of Chanakya so that you are ready for PhD. I would say because this particular topic of Rajamandala theory is meant for leaders. All the participants, I would suggest that, or viewers, I would suggest, imagine that you want to put leadership in a diagram form. So let's look at a diagram or a picture. So if you look at a geometrical figure, how would you draw leadership in a geometrical figure? What could be your answer?
Basically, we think about a pyramid, which explains the hierarchies, but Chanakya must have thought it a bit different way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So when I do this exercise, in fact, yesterday, 2 days ago, I was in Kuwait. I was doing a session for the chartered accountants over there. So the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So in the Kuwait chapter had invited me. So we are doing the same exercise, and also we do this exercise with school children. So whether it's the chartered accountants, diplomats, or it is the school children, I do this exercise, and it's okay. Draw leadership in a geometrical figure. Most of them would come back with two figures. What you said, the pyramid, the triangle with a hierarchy, or they would also come with a line, a straight line, and say, okay, the leader is over here in the beginning. Either it's a straight line with the leader in the beginning, or it's a triangle or a pyramid with the leader on the top. And it's natural because that's how we are trained. That's how we are oriented to leadership. Coming back, you'd be surprised that Chanakya would have actually taught about leadership from the diagram of a circle. And the leader will be in the center. So in the pyramid, the leader is the top. In the straight line, the leader is in the beginning.
Yeah, so it is like the concept of Vijig issue, which is the core of all power in the state. Yes.
Absolutely. So that is exactly the concept that we want to bring in called Vijig issue
Hmm.
and who plays around with the Rajamandala theory.
Hmm.
Now let's look at these two words, Raja plus Mandala. So
Hmm.
Raja Mandala. Raja is a leader or a king, and Mandala is the circle. So if
Hmm.
you study the arthshastra, it comes as the circle of kings.
Hmm.
And circle is very interesting. Mandala is a very, very interesting concept of leadership in Indian context.
Hmm.
Not only Chanakya or Kautilya's arthashastra mentions about it, but we find the mandala as a concept across our Indian culture. So if you look at Rangoli, when we build a Rangoli, it's always circular. If you look at various other things, it's always circle, circle, circle. And that's why we even call Kala Chakra.
That was the
It's
recent theme of ORF Raisina dialogue.
absolutely. So the circle, now what does circle represent? Okay. The interesting part about circle is that every point is the beginning and the end.
Hmm. In itself.
You can start a circle like this, or you can start a circle like this. You can start a circle from another corner and come back to the same point. So that's the interesting part. That a
Hmm.
circle is complete by itself.
Hmm.
So it's very important that a leader actually should think in circles, not goal. Huh? Like in Delhi we have this goal checker.
Hmm.
So like you keep going around. No, 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 no. The idea is that it's a complete form. So we say the circle of life,
Hmm.
so that it starts with a circle. Now, here we are not saying the outer circle. You look at a point in between. So that's the leader.
Hmm.
So he's right in between. So if you look at India's concept of leadership, there is no hierarchy.
Hmm.
Yet leadership is about power.
Hmm.
Leadership is about so many things. So power, there are a lot of responsibilities that comes with leadership.
Hmm.
So if you look at a group, and if somebody is standing out with a uniform, with an applet, and say, okay, he is the colonel or he is the major general, you can make out. And he is the one who is commanding. He'll give orders. So he's the leader. But in India, you'll never know who is the leader. I'll give you a simple example. In our house, okay, the person who runs the house is actually your mother. So she's inside the kitchen, but she knows everything, very well informed,
Hmm.
very, very, very clear. So the idea is that there is somebody in the center, he can't be seen, but he's there, fully aware of what's happening around. So therefore, Rajamandala theory
Hmm.
is something which is known yet unknown. So now, before we go into the Rajamandala concepts that Chanakya spoke about, what
Hmm.
I'll do is that I will introduce you to some basic concepts that will help you to understand and apply Rajamandala theory. So today what I'll do, as I said, I can't take the whole lecture in 30 minutes, but introduce you three things,
Hmm.
three concepts that will help you build the Rajamandala theory.
Hmm.
And maybe some other time we can have one more session on the technicalities of Rajamandala. I will
Sure.
not go into the technical because I can show a PPT and people said, wow, but at the end of it, there is no takeaway and people are just confused.
So I will just give you a brief. Our entire team plus the audience that we cater to is more of UPSC oriented kind of people who have studied political science either in their bachelor's or master's or somehow encountered it as an optional in their civil service preparation. So everyone has an understanding of basic understanding of who Chanakya was, what Saptanga theory was, what Raj Mandala theory was. But you please take us more deeper into it.
So even if you're a civil service aspirant or UPSC aspirant, please understand as you speak about Rajamandala theory, let's say you're in the final round of interview,
Mm.
you need to understand these three factors also, which build the Rajamandala theory. So the first word, and you already mentioned about it, it's called Vijigishu.
Mm.
So who is a Vijigishu? We need to be very clear. A
Mm.
Vijigishu is the one who wants to be a world conqueror.
Mm.
वर्ल्ड कॉन्करर मुझे दुनिया जीतनी है. So that is a Vijigishu. Vijayata and Ichha, the one who wants, so Vijigishu.
Mm.
He wants to be a world conqueror. So if you want to play the game, then you are a player. But if you want to play the game as a captain to win the World Cup, then you are a Bijigishu.
Hmm.
So we are not talking about one more player in the game. We're not even talking about one more, performer of the team. No, we are talking about the captain of the team who wants to win the World Cup. A simple example, since cricket is very popular in India,
Hmm.
if suppose I'm playing cricket and everybody loves cricket and I don't even know how to hold the bat
Hmm.
or I don't know even how to, bowl, you can't even be part of the team. So if you're a good bowler or a batsman, you get in the team, you're a performer. But now you are a captain of a team.
Hmm.
Not just the captain of a Ranji team or maybe an IPL team. Now you're a part of the Indian cricket team as a captain, and now you are going to play the World Cup. And we've been very fortunate that we won the T20 World Cup, we won the Champions Trophy. Now think how the captain. In the recent case, it was Rohit Sharma. Before that, we
Hmm.
had Mahendra Singh Dhoni, we had Kapil Dev. How would he think? So that is what makes a great captain. And in Chanakya's word, that approach that हम दुनिया जीतते हैं, we'll not only play the game, not
Hmm.
only participate in the game, but I will go and win the World Cup and come for our country. So that particular concept is Vijay Kishu.
Hmm.
And once you understand Vijay Kishu, then you'll understand the Rajmandala thing. So I will just tell you that how a Vijay Kishu should be. The Rajamandala is a tool through
Hmm.
which he plays the game. For example, I'm a captain, but I require a bat or a ball or a pitch. Now, those are the frameworks in which I operate. But
Hmm.
who is a Bijigishu? Very clear. I will read out Arthashastra, book number 6, chapter number 2, sutra number 13. He says very clearly the king, okay, the leader endowed with personal excellences, number one.
Hmm.
Those of the material constituents and the seat of good policy is the would-be world conqueror. So
Hmm.
three things are required. One is personal excellences. You have
Hmm.
to be good with your own leadership qualities, but that is not enough. You also require material constituents. You require some tools and techniques.
Hmm.
And finally, you require what is called good policy strategy.
Hmm.
Suppose you win the toss, whether you're going to bat first, ball first, how much runs are you going to make, who is the batsman, all those things.
Hmm.
It's very important that a big issue should have the personal excellences. You should have the constituents, or what we also call as resources, and you should have a good strategy or a good policy. All these three, if you have, you become a Vijay. The one who is going to have these qualities is a Vijay. Now, let me explain what is the personal excellences. So, in that, it comes Indriya Jaya, one who has got control about himself.
Hmm.
That's why we call Mahendra Singh Dhoni as Captain Cool. Whatever be the situation, you have to be calm and quiet and composed.
Hmm.
So, Indriya Jaya, whenever any bad situation comes in or a challenging situation, we lose our cool. So Vijay Kishore said, let's have a strategy, let's relax.
Hmm.
So we have to develop those qualities. In fact, Chanakya says those are spiritual qualities.
Hmm.
So it's not just about having, outer things, inner things. So the chapter that comes in arthshastra is called as Arishat Varga Tyagaha. Hari means six internal enemies. Shat, six. Varga Tyaga, six enemies you have to conquer. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. In Arthashastra, he calls the same thing as Rishat Varga Tyaga. So once you control yourself and your Indriyas, you actually are ready. Otherwise, every small thing you lose your cool. No. Then comes the material constituents, where there is something called as Saptanga.
Hmm.
So that's another concept that we should know Saptanga. Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Danda Mitrani Prakriteyaha. So
Can
what does
yes, can I translate it? The first is the king, then you have the ministers, then you have friendly allies, I would say allies. Then you have treasury, then you have a military, then you have a, did I say bureaucracy? The administrative system that runs the entire thing. And I hope I missed something, but please continue, sir.
Absolutely. You had a wonderful start. So, what are the seven things? Saptangas. Sapta means
Hmm.
seven. The first one is Swami, the king or the leader. You can
Hmm.
also have a queen.
Hmm.
Amatya, the ministers.
Ministers.
So, Swami Amat. Janapada, the citizens.
Oh yes, so citizens. Yes.
Durga, fortified city.
Hmm.
Kosha, the treasury or
Very
the finance. Then comes the sixth one, Danda, the military or the army,
military.
and Mitra, the ally.
Allies.
The
Yes.
Swami, Amatya, Janapada, Durga, Kosha, Danda, and Mitra. All these are the material constituents. So when you're going to play the game of becoming a world conqueror, the basic issue should have this.
Hmm.
अदरवाइज आप लड़ाई करने जाते हो और आपके पास वेपन्स ही नहीं है.
Hmm.
You don't have military, you don't have weapons. What will you fight?
Hmm.
It's like again going to play the World Cup, but I don't have a bat and a ball. How will
Hmm.
you play?
Hmm.
Of course, you require minimum 11 players also.
Hmm.
And today you require a coach, you require a physiotherapist. So there
Right.
are also extra players. So
Hmm.
like 11 players plus four more, and we have 15 players who actually go.
Hmm.
So when you are going to play the game of a World Cup, you should have all these material constituents.
Hmm.
So these are the Saptanga, Swami, Amatya, Janapada, Durga, Kosha, Danda, Mitrani, Prakrite. And then comes good policy. What is good policy? This is where the Rajamandala theory comes in. How do you strategize it? So once you have these three things, your first thing is that you have to think that you are capable. So that's where you actually have personal excellences. You have the Saptanga material constituents and good strategy through Rajamandala theory. And then if you play the game, you go on to become a Vijigishu. You definitely will win the game.
Hmm.
So first remember it all starts with a leader. A lot of people say team acha hai. That's okay. But what about the leader? We need to have a person who is a performing leader and an inspirational leader, an inspiring leader. Otherwise, a leader can demotivate also.
Hmm.
One word that comes in arthshastra for an inspiring leader is utsaha vardhaka. The one who inspires. Vardha means to grow. I have an inspiration. I also want to win a World Cup. But my captain says, छोड़ो ना यार. तू क्या
Hmm.
खेलने वाला? I mean, you are not a great player. Then what to do?
Hmm.
And the captain would go and say, okay, you go and play the game. Chakke maro yaar. I'm with you. Doesn't matter if you get out, but go and hit sixes. No, I feel very confident. So
Yes.
Utsaha, just to divert a little bit, the Arthashastra has got three words for leaders. Okay? The first one, which is generally quite popular, and it is there in Saptang also, is Swami. So a leader is called as Swami. The second word that comes in Arthashastra is called as Raja Rishi. Raja plus Rishi is a philosopher king. And the third word which we are thinking about is Vijigishu. So three words, but remember we are talking about the Vijigishu, who is also a Swami, who is also a Raja Rishi. But now he has to play around with the material constituents. So it's important that we have this material constituents, Swami, Amatya, Janapada, Durga, Kosha, Danda, Mitra, which is called the Saptanga. Now, how does the strategy of Rajamandala theory comes in? What is the important aspect before we get into strategy? Therefore, I want to introduce you to one more word, and that is called Anvikshiki.
Hmm.
Anvikshiki is the science of thinking. Also, I've written a book on that. You can refer to it later on. Inside Chanakya's mind, Anvikshiki and the art of thinking. So, what is Anvikshiki? How to think, how to strategize. Again, as I told you, if you want to read it technically, Sankhya Yoga Lokayata iti Anvikshiki. And Chanakya starts training the leader with this quality of developing Anvikshiki.
Hmm.
It's very, very important that we have the quality of Anvikshiki. So,
So
three
is it a
important,
science or is it an art? Is it the art of thinking or the science of thinking?
it is also a knack of thinking.
Lack of thinking.
So, we can say, is it a science or an art? But I'll tell you, that's a very Western way of looking at things.
Yes.
They're all the same. So a lot of people ask me, is science and spirituality different? In India, both are the same.
Yes, integrated.
They are integrated. So enriching is a science also, it's an art also, it's a knack also. And you should know how to think on feet also. Please understand, we are playing the game of cricket. You'll be surprised that you will be actually not having time to think. Ball dala, you can't say, wait, let me think how to hit you. You have to just hit it for a six or a four, or you'll get out.
Instinct.
It is not just instinct, it is actually what we call muscle memory.
Muscle memory.
इतना practice किया, you've done it so much in the net practice that when a bowler balls, you don't have time to think. And it is not impulsive. You have trained yourself so much that when the ball comes, you know it is going to go on the left side. Let me hit a six. It's going to come on, so let me not play it. It is not instinct, it is practice. And how did Chanakya develop this instinct? Through his espionage or information network. And that's why you want to understand how to win the game. You should be well informed about your competitors also. So Chanakya has got this, what we say, the uh, espionage spies. We've got a great spying system who is actually around. Duta. They are also ambassadors. They are also people who go to the enemy countries and get. So to play the game, you should be well informed. Today, of course, we have technology. So again, going back to the game of cricket. Let's want to play. Today, you want to play with Australia. And we've been very fortunate that we've been winning against Australia. So what do? We actually watch the player. How does he bowl? How does he play? So about the ball, what is his strength, weaknesses? How do I actually, target him through the ball, left side? He's got out so many times. So he's gathering information and we are practicing along with that. So Chanakya has got different types of spies. You should study that also, who gather the information. And then you build the strategy. So with all this background, now I will just come to the last point, which is the Rajmandala theory. Because that was the main topic. But as I told you, we have to prepare ourselves before we enter the game. We're already in the game, Rajamandala theory. So it's a circle. And remember one thing, you never fight a battle alone. You take your friends along. So we always say this, never fight a battle alone, take some friends along. And the Saptanga, we have Mitra. So there are different levels in which Chanakya operates the Rajamandala theory. So you are there, the Vijigishu. Then you have a person who is an immediate neighbor. He is called a Ari. Ari means an immediate enemy. Then we have Mitra, my friend, my enemy. Because when I have to defeat my enemy, I have a friend with me. But remember one thing, the enemy is also smart. So we have an enemy who's got a friend. It's called Ari Mitra. Then we have Mitra, my friend's friend, my enemy's friend. So it goes into 7 different levels. And then as you play the game of Vijigishu, there are many permutation and combination. And let me tell you, there are 72 permutation and combination. So it's like, when we go to play Racha, if I put a, ball which is a googly, I should know how to play. If I put the ball on the offside, on the onside, if I put a bouncer. So there are 72 permutation and combination between the two enemies. So how do you play around it? Of course, you have to study the Rajamandala theory in detail. But remember, never ever take the enemy for granted. Because as you are strategizing against the enemy is also strategizing against you. So enemy is also studied you. He's also looking at Acha. Virat Kohli, he will hit a six. So this is how you should get him out. In the last game, how did he get out? So let me ball accordingly. So it's a very different mind game. So in the Vijigishu theory, you find there are permutations and combinations. And let me tell you, in the war, the biggest enemy need not be against you. It can be in your team also. So somebody within the team can actually, help the enemy to win the game. So you have to be careful of that. Somebody from behind can come and attack you. So as you are planning an attack in the front, the Rajamandala theory says there are actually enemies behind also. So the enemy can actually send somebody behind you. How do you prepare yourself? So I will not take much because the time is.
Again, the circle is continues. So when we go forward, we have Ari, then Mitra, then Ari Mitra, Mitra Mitra, and the same circle goes backward as well. Arsha, Arsha Nigara, and I just forgot the name.
Absolutely. So my request to all of you is that please study this. There's so many material available on the internet. So if you study it and arthshastra, of course you should read it. You'll find enough material. But remember, it's a permutation combination. And
Yes,
here,
with regards to the permutation and combination, sir, it's a very classic attempt of, calculating the balance of power. And
yeah,
even today, many governments around the world, in when you look at great power politics, these guys have institutional mechanism to calculate balance of power vis-a-vis different powers in the world and in their immediate neighborhood. It is not available in the public domain, but these permutations and combinations are taken into account while designing your national security strategy.
right. Absolutely, you're right. So many times this is not available in public domain because
Yes.
there are very internal security related issues.
Hmm.
When you are playing with national security, they don't open it out.
Hmm.
Therefore, governments have think tanks
Hmm.
and they have institutionalized the think tanks also.
Hmm.
So my suggestion that as students and as scholars of international policy, we should study.
Hmm.
And every country, especially the developed countries, have institutionalized this
Hmm.
establishment. So we can find out a lot of details. But I like to stop here by telling that if you look at the Rajmandala theory, it's a very robust model.
Hmm.
And of course, we actually touched upon concepts like Vijigishu, Saptanga, Anvikshiki, etc. But they are all subjects by itself. We'll talk about that some other time. But I just want
One
to
last
say,
question, sir. One last question. So we refer to philosopher king as the Raja Rishi. So philosopher king, we have seen that reference has been from the ancient Greek times when Plato was, considered the great thinker in those era. He gave a concept about philosopher king, how he should be. With regards to this, there was a correlation built in my mind while we were talking about this. First was between Plato, second was Chanakya, and third, which is commonly referred to as a contemporary, is Sun Tzu in the Chinese culture. So, just a very quick answer, sir. What is one convergence that you see amongst all three, and what is one major distinction that you see between all three?
in fact, I like to add one more person, Machiavelli.
Machiavelli was from a different time, right? He gave the prince, but it was from a different era.
Absolutely. So the eras are different, but all of them are in the power game.
Yes.
So they are in that balance of power game. So Machiavelli had a different strategy in a different era. He
Hmm.
comes from a different geography.
Hmm.
Sun Tzu, of course, art of war comes more from China.
Hmm.
Chanakya is you. And of course, you mentioned Socrates. So there are different
Apostles.
geographies, different timelines. But what is the common and the difference?
Hmm.
The common one is that all of them are related to power. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to become, like the prince wants to become a leader. Chanakya wants to be Jigishu. So they are common. But what is the difference? In India, the concept of a Rajrishi existed even before Socrates.
Hmm.
So Socrates, comparatively the philosopher king, the concept existed in India much before,
From the Vedas.
from the Vedic onwards. Now remember one thing, a philosopher king is using power for serving the society.
Hmm.
And he's a rishi. In many concepts, to become powerful is the last point. Here, after becoming powerful, you actually serve the society and you go towards moksha,
Hmm.
realization. That's why you're a rishi. Because that's a James Bond movie. The world is not enough.
Hmm.
Even if you win the World Cup, that is not enough. There's another World Cup.
Yes.
And there is another because even if you look at ICC, every 4 years the World Cup comes. So
Yes.
our concept is win the World Cup, but remember that is not the final step.
Hmm.
So a philosopher king wins the game and he says, okay, next captain, you take over, I'm going. So
Hmm.
there's a concept called Vairagya. And therefore, we need to understand to play the game, you should have all these strategies and all this. But winning the game is not the important thing. You should retire from the game by making a better leader. So Socrates is having a concept of philosopher king actually adapted from India. So we gave the theory to them. That's why
Hmm.
philosopher should become a king. Otherwise, he or she will get attached to power.
Hmm.
We are in the power game, but power is not our ultimate destination. Service to people through the power is what is a Rajarshi.
Hmm.
And the word that comes in all scriptures of India is dharma,
Raj Dharma.
Raja Dharma. And even if you look at war that happens, in India we call it Dharma Yuddha,
Hmm.
not Yuddha for winning.
Hmm.
So if you look at Mahabharata war, it's called Raja Dharma and also Dharma Yuddha. So now strategies, permutation, combination, all this is fine. But at the end of it, we have to understand we are not here to win. We are here to create a great society and a spiritual society. That's more important. Because winning the game, people, if you look at the Roman Empire, they were at the peak. But what happened? Collapsed.
Hmm.
In India, we say, okay, we need to win the game, but are people happy? Are people more spiritual? That's why the concept of Rama Rajya. Rama
Hmm.
Rajya, if you look at it, Rama went to, let's say, from Ayodhya, he went to Lanka. Now remember, Lanka was actually Sone ki Lanka. It was more prosperous than Ayodhya.
Hmm.
If you compare, and Rama could have actually become the head of Lanka and he would have come back and said, now a bigger kingdom. But he gives it to Vibhishan, he makes him the king, and he comes back to a smaller place called Ayodhya. And the word Raja Rishi comes even for Raja Janak. If you look at Mithila Naresh, Janakpuri, if you look at it, it's a small kingdom. But we say we don't look at size of expansion of material benefits as the ultimate. We believe that people were happy in Ramarajya because we had a great leader. And finally, the whole citizens went into a spiritual path. That is more important. Otherwise, the power game can continue forever. After winning the World Cup 3 times, continuously, hat trick, Australia had to lose.
Hmm.
So even if you win and become a big issue, that is not permanent. In the world, yes, you can become a big issue. Even the great empires, the Roman Empire, the British colony, everything collapsed. Yet India continues because of this word called as dharma. So dharma has to be maintained is the concept of a Rajarishi.
Sir, last remark. Thank you for all the intellectuality. Our audience will be very impressed with your thoughts. Last remark. I have talks with few people from the West, and they emphasize more on things like territorial integrity and sovereignty, which was embedded in the UN Charter in 1945. But I always cite this example that Ram had a chance to take over Lanka, but he still chose to rule over Ayodhya because for him sovereignty was the bigger question there. And since Vibhishan was from that particular place, he had the authority to govern that society. So that is a very important aspect of sovereignty that the Western countries don't understand, which is very much embedded from our historical times, way before Chanakya as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. You're doing a wonderful work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.